Have you ever noticed something strange? You know exactly what you need to do. You know what's right for you, and yet you freeze. You watch someone else take the leap you're too scared to take. They fail, they stumble, but they move forward anyway. Meanwhile, you stay stuck, replaying the same fears, the same excuses, the same safe choices that slowly suffocate who you could become. What's the difference? It's not courage in the way most people think. It's not fearlessness. The Stoics discovered something deeper. Fear doesn't announce itself. It disguises itself as logic, as caution, as kindness. And by the time you realize it's been controlling you, years have passed. Today I'm going to share 8 signs that fear is running your life and how to break free using Stoic principles. And stay with me, because sign number 5 is the most dangerous, because it makes you feel like you're being selfless when you're actually abandoning yourself. And once you recognize it, everything changes. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Fear isn't the enemy. Letting fear make your decisions is. The Stoics understood that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's acting despite it. It's recognizing when fear has stopped being a warning and started becoming a prison. These 8 signs aren't just behaviors. They're patterns that keep you small, that steal your peace, and that convince you safety is more important than living. Failing to recognize these signs risks something most people don't see until it's too late. You'll spend years avoiding the discomfort that could have set you free. You'll look back and realize the things you feared most weren't as dangerous as the life you didn't live because of them. And worst of all, you'll teach yourself that fear wins, that your voice doesn't matter, and that you're not strong enough to choose yourself. But the Stoics knew different. They knew that every moment you let fear decide is a moment you give away your power. And power reclaimed starts with awareness. Sign 1. You avoid difficult conversations. Most people think avoiding conflict is wisdom. They tell themselves they're keeping the peace, choosing their battles, being the bigger person. But here's the truth. If you're constantly swallowing your truth to avoid confrontation, fear is making your decisions. The Stoics believed that speaking your truth is not aggression, it's self-respect. When you stay silent because you're afraid of how someone will react, you're not protecting the relationship. You're protecting fear's control over you. And every time you do this, you teach yourself that your voice doesn't matter. Example: someone at work takes credit for your idea. You feel the anger rise, but you stay quiet because speaking up might make things awkward. Days pass, the resentment builds. You didn't avoid conflict. You just delayed it and made it worse. Now you're angry at them and disappointed in yourself. The Stoic way is different. You speak calmly. You state the facts. You protect your dignity without needing their approval. Because silence born from fear isn't peace. It's surrender. Sign 2. You people please to avoid conflict. Here's where fear gets clever. It convinces you that saying yes to everything makes you kind, generous, a good person. But kindness that comes from fear of rejection isn't kindness. It's self-abandonment. Most people who struggle with this don't even realize they're doing it. They agree when they want to say no. They laugh at jokes that aren't funny. They go along with plans they hate. And all the while they tell themselves they're just being flexible, easygoing, supportive. But the Stoics saw through this. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." And that includes other people's feelings about your boundaries. When you bend yourself into shapes to keep others comfortable, you're not being selfless. You're being controlled. Example: a friend asks you to help them move on the one day you have off this month. You're exhausted. You need rest. But you say yes anyway because saying no feels selfish. The day comes. You resent every box. You resent them for asking. But they didn't force you. Fear did. The Stoic response: "I can't this time." No justification, no guilt, because your time and energy are not up for negotiation just because someone asks. The next sign is where most people completely fail. They think staying calm means staying silent. But the Stoics knew something different. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away. Sign 3. You overthink every decision. Most people call this being careful, being thoughtful, weighing your options. But if you're still analyzing a decision weeks after you should have made that's not wisdom. That's fear disguised as logic. The Stoics understood that overthinking is a trap. It's your mind trying to find the perfect choice where no risk exists, but that choice doesn't exist. Every decision carries uncertainty. And the longer you wait for certainty, the more opportunities you miss. When you overanalyze, you're not protecting yourself. You're paralyzing yourself. Example, you want to switch careers. You've wanted it for years, but every time you get close to making a move, your mind floods with questions. What if you fail? What if it's the wrong choice? What if you regret it? So you stay in the job that drains you because at least it's familiar. But familiar isn't safe. It's just slow death by comfort. The Stoic approach? Make the decision with the information you have. Accept that you can't control the outcome. And trust that you'll handle whatever comes. Because waiting for perfect clarity is just fear dressed up as patience. If you find these insights helpful, consider subscribing to the channel. It's a small click, but a meaningful way to support me as I continue this journey and walk alongside you toward a better life, one day at a time. Sign 4. You stay in situations that hurt you. This is where fear becomes cruelty, not to others, to yourself. Most people know when a relationship, a job, a friendship has turned toxic. They feel it in their chest, in their sleep, in the way they dread Monday mornings or certain phone calls. But they stay anyway, because leaving feels harder than enduring. The Stoics had a word for this: voluntary suffering. It's when you choose pain because you're too afraid of the unknown to choose freedom. And here's the brutal truth. Every day you stay in a situation that diminishes you, you're teaching yourself that you're not worth saving. Example, you're in a relationship where you're constantly criticized, where your boundaries are ignored, where you feel smaller every day. But you stay because you're afraid of being alone, afraid you won't find better, afraid of starting over. So you endure. And every day you endure, fear tightens its grip. The Stoic choice? Walk away. Not in anger, not in drama, in clarity. Because staying where you're not valued isn't loyalty. It's fear calling itself love. Stay with me, because the next sign is the most dangerous. It makes you feel noble when you're actually erasing yourself. Sign 5. You need constant validation from others. Most people don't realize they're doing this. They post and check for likes. They share a success and wait for praise. They make a decision and immediately ask others if it was right. And when the validation comes, they feel relief. But it's temporary, because they've outsourced their worth. The Stoics believed your value comes from within. Not from applause, not from approval, not from other people's opinions of you. When you need external validation to feel okay, you've handed your peace to strangers. And fear is what keeps you checking, seeking, hoping someone else will confirm you matter. Example, you achieve something you're proud of, but instead of celebrating it yourself, you immediately tell everyone, post about it, wait for reactions. And if the reactions are weak, your pride deflates, because it was never about the achievement. It was about the validation, and validation sought from fear is never enough. The Stoic way? Do the work, acknowledge your effort, and let that be enough. Because the only approval that matters is the one you give yourself. Sign 6. You apologize for things that aren't your fault. This one sneaks in quietly. You bump into someone who wasn't looking. You apologize. Someone interrupts you. You apologize for talking. You exist in a space and somehow feel the need to shrink, to soften, to say sorry for taking up room. But the Stoics understood something critical. Apologizing when you've done wrong is integrity. Apologizing when you haven't is fear pretending to be politeness. When you apologize for existing, for having needs, for taking space, you're not being humble. You're reinforcing the belief that you're a burden. And fear loves that belief. Example, you're in a meeting. You start to share an idea, but someone talks over you. When they finish, you say, sorry, and continue. But why are you apologizing? You didn't interrupt. You were interrupted. That automatic sorry isn't politeness. It's fear telling you that your voice is an inconvenience. The Stoic response? Silence the sorry. State your point. Exist without apology. Because you don't owe the world smallness. The final two signs reveal whether fear is shaping your entire identity. Sign 7. You never take risks or try new things. Most people mistake safety for wisdom. They stay in the same routines, the same circles, the same comfort zones, and call it stability. But the Stoics knew that a life without risk is a life without growth. And growth is the entire point. If you find yourself saying no to opportunities because they feel uncertain, if you avoid anything that might lead to failure or judgment, fear isn't protecting you. It's imprisoning you. Because the cost of never risking anything is never becoming anything. Example, you're invited to try something new, a hobby, a trip, a challenge, but immediately your mind lists reasons why you can't. It's too expensive. You're too busy. You're not good at that kind of thing. So you decline, and you stay exactly where you are, safe, stagnant, small. The Stoic choice? Try it. Fail if you must, learn either way, because Seneca said it best. It's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. And fear is the greatest thief of time. Sign 8. You live for others' approval, not your values. This is the final sign, and the most devastating. Because it means fear hasn't just influenced your choices, it's replaced your identity. Most people build their lives around what others expect, the career their parents wanted, the lifestyle their friends admire, the opinions that keep them accepted. And somewhere along the way, they forget what they actually value. The Stoics believed the only life worth living is one aligned with your principles. Not society's, not your family's, yours. When you sacrifice your values to earn approval, you're not living, you're performing, and the audience will never be satisfied. Example, you believe something deeply, but you never voice it because it might be unpopular. You want to pursue a path, but you choose a different one because it looks better to others. You know what's right for you, but you ignore it because it doesn't match what people expect. And in doing so, you lose yourself. The Stoic way? Define your values, live by them, and let approval come or go. Because a life lived for applause is no life at all. These 8 signs work because they reveal one Stoic truth. Fear doesn't control you by force. It controls you by convincing you it's logic, politeness, caution, or care. And the moment you stop believing that lie, you reclaim your power. Here's the paradox. The less you run from fear, the less power it has. Because courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to act anyway, to speak anyway, to choose yourself anyway. These 8 signs aren't failures. They're awareness. And awareness is the first step to freedom. Choose one sign this week. Just one. Notice when it shows up. And instead of obeying it, pause. Ask yourself, is this wisdom or is this fear? And then choose differently. Not to be fearless, but to be free. Because the strongest people aren't the ones who never feel fear. They're the ones who refuse to let it make their decisions. That is Stoic courage. And that is what we build here on Stoic Journal. If this helped you, subscribe to Stoic Journal so you keep building clarity and strength one day at a time. Now comment below which sign hit you hardest. Was it avoiding conversations, people-pleasing, overthinking, staying where you're hurt, needing validation, apologizing for existing, never taking risks, or living for approval? Pick one, name it, and commit to breaking free, because awareness is power. And you just took the first step